Hey, welcome to the LeafsCast. My name is Mark Paul. As we start the show today, I need you to think back. October 15th, the Leafs took on the Minnesota Wild, and the Leafs managed to win 4-1 despite allowing 37 shots and only taking 14. It is not too often you win a hockey game with 14 shots on goal. James Reimer was excellent. He made 36 saves in the win. In reality, the Leafs were fortunate because the Minnesota Wild at the time, they started Darcy Kuemper. He's not going to be starting this time. Josh Harding has been hot as none other. He's 9-2-2 with a 1.22 goals against average, 9.47 save percentage. If this guy were to keep playing the way he is, he'd set some records, and he would be, I mean, who knows? Canada might take him as their goaltender for all we know. But Minnesota, they haven't lost. The Minnesota's been pretty good. Early on in the season, they were decent, but they have been red hot as of late, 4-0-1 in their last 5, and really a shootout loss to the Washington Capitals. You kind of can't hold that against them. Toronto, though, comes in a very different team from the last time that the Minnesota Wild saw them. We all know David Bolland and Tyler Bozak both out due to pretty severe injuries, especially Bolland. Bolland has come out and said, they don't really know how long I'm going to be out for, and that is not pleasant news for Leafs fans. I mean, Tyler Bozak scored a goal in the first game against Minnesota, and Bolland played 18-something minutes in that game. So the Leafs are going to look drastically different in this one. Now, hopefully they get more than 14 shots. I wouldn't be mad about that. At the same time, I also wouldn't be mad when I'm going to use the word when the Leafs win tomorrow. I don't care how many shots they have on goal. They could have 3 shots on goal and score all 3 times. That would be fine. It would be incredibly weird. But yes, so the Minnesota Wild, they have been hot. They have looked very good. Zach Parise is leading that team along with Ryan Suter, and things are clicking for the Minnesota Wild. Things have been working against them in some ways, though. As you take a peek at the standings in the Western Conference, I know there's been a lot of discussion as to which conference is better, and it's pretty obvious that the Western Conference kind of blows the East out of the water. But the Minnesota Wild, right now, their record is 10-4-4. Pretty solid record. In fact, better than the Toronto Maple Leafs, a better record. 24 points. They're in 7th place right now in the Western Conference. 7th place. They're one of the wild card teams. Whereas Toronto at 11-6 with 22 points, they sit in 4th place in the Eastern Conference. When you look at these two teams on paper, maybe their records are similar, but the way that they've been playing lately, it worries me. It really does. As the Leafs go into this game, I'm wondering what the Leafs are going to be able to do against the Minnesota Wild. If the Wild play their game. Now, however, let's say the Leafs come out and play the way that they played against Boston in the second period. Now we have a different team. We have a different game. There's one person on the Leafs that I think that if he were to step it up, if he is in a position to actually make something happen offensively, even if he doesn't score, but creates momentum. Shots on goal, okay, I'll take it or leave it. For the Leafs, it's almost seems sometimes like, sometimes we just need to get a few shots on goal to kind of get the bus moving a bit. But if Nazem Kadri is able to get anything going, create some sort of momentum, scoring chances, so that when the next line comes out, that they've already had the puck in the offensive zone, the Wild are reeling back a little bit for other lines to come in and create some offense. I just need something out of Nazem Kadri. Nazem Kadri has 13 points on the year, 5 goals and 8 assists. But in reality, he's had points in 9 games this year. 9 out of 17. He hasn't scored in 5 games since the game against the Edmonton Oilers. And that goal put the Leafs up 4-0. It was kind of it's definitely nice to see the Leafs kind of put some extra mustard into the goal and win the game by a solid margin. But it was the 4th goal at a 4-0 win, close to halfway through the 3rd period. Honestly, Nazem Kadri hasn't scored a meaningful goal in 2 weeks since he scored the game-winning goal against the Penguins, the goal that ultimately put them up 2-1 to win and went on to win the game 4-1. That was October 26th. And, I know you can't base everything off of how many goals he scores. Nazem Kadri he's not a 60-goal scorer by any means. But you'd like to see him create something offensively. It just doesn't seem like he's had the same gumption that he did last year. I think that if Nazem Kadri can step it up, because now is his chance. I mean, he essentially, he's not playing on the number one line, he is our best center. James Van Riemsdyk, he is playing center on the number one line, but he is not our number one center. That is Nazem Kadri. And in my mind, we need to see something more out of him. He only has 28 shots in 17 games. That's not even close to two shots a game. And so I think if Nazem Kadri can step it up and he can really take that lead of that line with Clarkson, which David Clarkson is another guy who's struggled with Clarkson and Raymond, who Mason Raymond, we haven't seen a ton of offense out of him since Boland and Bozak and those guys have gone down. The depth on the Leafs has lessened. We know that. And it's caused for some players who were hidden behind the better talent to be exposed a little bit. And so the Leafs need to step it up. A guy like Nazem Kadri, he needs to protect guys like Raymond and allow for Clarkson to actually play the way that he can play. And so Nazem Kadri, huge piece for the Leafs. He will be an important factor as we move forward with these injuries. The Leafs need Nazem Kadri to step it up. As well, whether it's Bernier or Reimer starting, and no official announcement has been made as of the time of this recording, I'm thinking that it's going to be Jonathan Bernier. Reimer's played a decent amount lately, and so I'm thinking they're probably, he played on Saturday. He played a good game against the Boston Bruins, but I think that Jonathan Bernier will probably get the nod against the Minnesota Wild. This has been your LeafsCast Pre-Game show. We would love to get your comments and questions before the post-game show of the Minnesota Wild. So you watch that game or you have questions during it, feel free to tweet at Mark Paul or go to facebook.com/LeafsCast. You can post on there. As well, you can post on all of our postings at LeafsCast.com. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you during the post-game show of the Minnesota Wild versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.